Hmm.
Welcome to Determined to Succeed. I'm Dawn Mullarney, aka the Unique Connector. I'm so excited to have this guest join me today. And so I want to kick it off by what keeps you going as being a small business owner, my dear? Tell me more.
I think that I have a family. I've got two small, young little boys, and they are my best motivation. That I can't imagine having two young little kids with a traditional job. And while there's a lot of stress that comes with running a business, there's a lot of flexibility, and I really enjoy being able to be with them whenever I feel and whenever they need some mommy time. I can choose them as a priority over maybe some meetings that I can move around. So they definitely push me to succeed.
I love that. And I guess, it kind of just shows right there what kind of your values are and maybe two of your business values. And I guess let's even kind of talk about that when it comes to your business values. How do they align with even your personal values?
Flexibility has come up many times over the year. I know we kind of talked about this before we started recording, but obviously there's a lot of people that are in business and looking to run their own business for like a monetary priority first. It hasn't always been mine, though that is high on the list. I think top would always be for us. I run a design business, design and branding. So we do strategy and we do design, and that includes like logo design and website design and marketing materials and all that stuff, fun stuff. So creativity is also very high up there on my list. That I want to be creative all day, but flexibility and having day to day be different for me is very high. I think that was, I did work in the corporate world before. I've worked at in-house agencies, and when my week, Monday through Friday, was always relatively the same, I felt like that really, affected my mental health, and I felt like bored and distracted and not productive at work. But when my day is different every day and I can kind of choose what the focus will be on, um, really keeps me excited. And even 8 years into the company, I'm still excited to go to work and excited to open my email and see what fun might be sitting in there.
Good,
Whether
bad,
that's
anything.
sometimes good or bad, it is roller coaster, which is part of the fun. But kind of like I was saying too, but also as a business owner, I feel like the way that I've run our company and the way that me and my business partner have always had a relationship with our clients is that we are very authentic with our clients, that they truly know us, they know about our families, they know about things that are going on in our life. And we try to be as pure and authentic as we can, so that if my kid wakes up and is super sick and I have a meeting that day, I feel like there's absolutely no issue with giving a client a call and just being transparent and saying, this is what I'm going through. I'm going to take the day off. And every time our clients are so sympathetic, and it's not like a surprise to them that I have kids. They know who we are. And that's the best part, I think, of running my company, especially now having a 3 and a 10-month-old, is I feel like I'm being the best mom that I can be while also running a company. I feel like this is exactly where I wanted to be when I started the company 8 years ago, is when I knew I was going to have a family, and I knew that was going to take priority, that I would want to get in the position to be able to do that. And I think the company was 4 years old when I got pregnant. So I felt like we were in a good place. I was able to take maternity leave 2 times.
Mm.
Um, so it's been really great.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great reminder to so many of us of, sometimes when you take the leap, it's just, oh, the flexibility. But it's like, it's so important to understand what your values are, but also to instill it in your business also, because how you were just talking about your family and top priority is them. And if they're sick, and you've already made that clear enough with your clients that they get it. And that's where I think sometimes some businesses aren't always as clear of, my family is top priority, but you're also a top priority too. But it's just having that honesty and that vulnerability that we are all human, and that too, this is kind of how we're going to operate. But don't worry, you're still important to us. And I think that almost kind of helps to wean out some of those clients for you that are not going to be as flexible or understanding. And so I even think, as I'm talking about this, have you seen the business even evolve, through this time of you guys even too, maybe realizing more of your values, or even too, once you've had children 4 years even into the business?
Well, I think the pandemic changed a lot of that too, where I feel like it's a little bit just, it's like we don't have to do as much as the work as maybe we would have had to work on that trust with our clients before the pandemic. Because I think
Mm.
I'm thinking about all the funny meetings that I had in the pandemic where just like, that time where everybody was like at home with their kids. And they didn't have anywhere else to go. Your kids were going to be in the back. And there were so many people that I got to know that were my clients for maybe years. And I had never met their kids before. I'd never got to see them. And it was like I got introduced to a whole world full of other little people that I was like, you know what, everybody has got something else going on other than work, and that's okay. And that the pandemic allowed us to be more open about that and take the
Mhm.
stress out of that there's a workplace and then there's like personal life. It's kind of all out on the table now, I think a lot more. And like you said, I think in onboarding our clients, I feel like we're very, just part of our process is more about like, no matter what, trying to build that trust in them that if I do end up needing to step off for a meeting, that there's something that I've done along the way to make them feel like I have taken care of them or I will take care of them, there's not going to be any worry in my clients' eyes, that they know that I will make sure that what they need is going to be finished by the deadline, no matter if I didn't come to that 2 o'clock meeting or not.
Mm. Well, and I love that too, because it is a way for us. I mean, COVID, there's pros and cons of all of it, but it was a way for us to kind of even realize, like, oh, this is your space. This is where you feel comfortable. This is how you live your life, even outside of work, or this is how you're kind of even juggling things. And I think that was just too a great reminder to all of us that we are human and that we have lives even outside of work. And so, what has maybe even been some other pivotal moments in running your own business that, maybe even as you reflect, for like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known this, or I wish we would have taken this road, and, to help inspire even our listeners today?
I think, something that I thought about before coming on here was thinking about and being like very honest with yourself of like where the company's successes are telling you to lead,
Mm.
um, and doing some work to kind of document that, and then doing some work on like documenting where you think you should be going and just trying to make sure that they're overlapping. I feel like we kind of did that like too late in the company, and but we're also, it was like around year 3 or 4, we were open to pivoting slightly, where we first kind of market ourselves towards, doing like augmented reality marketing. Long story short, that didn't work out, but then there was just not the right fit for Milwaukee. And then we were just branding ourselves as a design studio. And then around year 3 or 4, we looked at the most successful projects that we've had, but also something that we determined that how we were determining success was part of our list was, what did we have the most fun with? Like, what did we
Mm.
feel like we made the most connection with our clients? Who did we become friends with after? What truly was like a good part of the year? Like, those were also ways that we determined if that was a successful project. And then we looked at those, and a lot of those were branding, because branding you get a lot more connection with than just doing, marketing materials or a business card. We felt like, I've got an art background. My business partner has an education background. Like, I am a very talkative person. Like, we I'm like a extrovert, introvert. And we found that we're very good at getting people to talk about themselves and making a space where it feels like they're able to be vulnerable. And we use that to our advantage, because in branding, to really get to the heart of what your identity work and your logo should be, we really truly need to find more about you and what your passion is and why do you do what you do. And we found with our backgrounds that we're able to pull that out of people somewhat easily. So we looked at that and decided to pivot to be a branding design agency. And that's how we market ourselves now, and that's what we've been focusing on. Even in the last couple of years, we're pushing that more and really expanding our strategy services and trying to make that much more in depth, that you can get a much more lengthy brand framework and strategy phase with us before we even get to your identity work. And we just find like that is where we have been having the most success and what truly makes us happy. And we're trying to just embrace that rather than saying like, oh, websites make us money a lot too. That's not really where our passion lies.
Ooh, well, I love that too, because it wasn't, you just didn't instantly go to the monetary things. You guys were looking at what fills us up, what brings us joy, how are we feeling about it, in seeing even too, how are the clients feeling, and that's where I think sometimes some businesses are so focused on the numbers sometimes that they even forget about the feeling and the emotion in the team. And are we all feeling energized when we do this? Because I feel like the more you're doing something passionate or finding joy in it, it's going to eventually make you more money because you're actually excited to come to work. How you even said too, like, I'm excited to come to my desk and see what emails I have and to come here and to, instead of, going back to the normal job, 9 to 5, corporate things that maybe aren't going to be filling my cup up or bringing me as much joy, finding the joy and being happy with clients. And that's where I think even you and I had that instant connection when we were in person of just kind of talking about life and finding our own passions. And too, even though we have our own businesses, we still find joy outside of it, or we're moms. And I think that's where it all kind of still molds into the business or molds into the person that we are. So, I love that you're talking about this. And this is where I even kind of want to go back a little bit of what you said earlier too, about how you took a maternity leave. You're a business owner, you took a maternity leave. Talk to us more about that, because I feel like so many business owners sometimes can't disconnect or can't even take that leave. That's
Have they
really
had a baby? But
right. True.
I feel like my business partner Nydia would laugh at this, because I feel like her kids are older than mine, and when I was getting ready for maternity leave, I was very focused on, I'm like the numbers person in our company, and I was like very
Yeah.
focused on like making sure that we had enough signed. My first son was born in September, so it's later in the year, and I was very focused on like, do we have enough contracts signed before I leave for maternity leave? And I just kept thinking of like, do we have enough money in the bank, enough contracts coming in for me to leave? Do we have enough to hire contractors if we need it when I leave? And I was so focused on that, that I felt like I didn't have time to think about that much else. And, with your first baby, you're just like so overwhelmed. You have like no idea what's going on. I was like, yeah, like I'll be back soon. Like, it's not even a big deal. Like, you're so focused on working until I had kids, I felt like the business was my real sole focus, that I couldn't see clearly that how much of a, you're just gonna be blindsided by like how quickly your priorities change. So I really thought like, this is my main focus, this business, I got to get back to this business as soon as I can. And I feel like my business partner was really just such a great partner to have in that, where she was like, yeah, you come back whenever you're ready. Like, don't you worry. Just knowing what was about to happen. And yeah, as soon as you get that baby in your arms, I feel like I was like, I do not understand how I'm going to come back. I remember really struggling with not yet understanding how it was even feasible. Like, what do you even do with this?
Yeah.
I had a great support team around me, though. I really did. I had my husband's family was really supportive. My family was really supportive. Um, so I didn't even think about work for 6, 7, 8 weeks. And then I did start kind of getting my bearings that I knew that I would have to come back eventually. So then I was lucky enough that, again, my business partner really pushed that, you take 12 weeks, you take whatever you need. And then around 8 weeks, I remember trying to just kind of get in the headspace of coming back. But then we were butting up with right at the end of the year, which is like our slowest year or slowest time of the year. So it was kind of like he was born the end of September, so end of October, November. Yeah, it was like kind of right around the end of the year. So it was like I was kind of coming back, but there wasn't much going on, thank God. So it was really beautiful. It was so nice to be able to be flexible. Again, I keep using that word to more and more when I was in that time of my life and in maternity leave. I remember so many other women, especially older women, like my mother's age, women in their 60s or 70s saying, when I had my kids, they either had to stay at home and they were just like left completely alone and had no support network as soon as their husbands went back to work, like 2 days later, or they had to go back to work like 6 weeks later. And some women still have to do that. So I was just very lucky to have that time with him. And we made it work, financially, we made it work for the company. We made it work in terms of time. Again, going back to the trust with my clients, I feel like I told many of my clients, it's not like it was a surprise in any way. They knew things were going to be slowing down for us. It really aligned well for our schedule. We have a slower quarter 4. So if I were to have planned the second one better, I feel like, having it towards quarter 4 was really perfect for us. But it was so nice. And when my second one came along, I thought again the opposite. I was so naive too. I feel like as soon as he was born, I remember calling Nydia, my business partner, being like, "He's such an easy baby. Like I'll be back so much sooner this time.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal." But then, like 2 weeks later, like the sleep deprivation, I was probably just really high on hormones.
Uh-huh.
And the sleep deprivation really catches up with you, and then your body, it just takes so long to get back. But um the second one, I remember almost being the opposite, where the first one I felt like I needed to get back to work and I was trying to figure it out and like why I just really got to get back to work and make sure this works. And I felt like more stressed that I needed to make it work and get back for the sake of the company. For the second one, I think I realized how precious truly those first 2 or 3 months are with a baby, that I was like, I'm not going to rush this. Like the company is fine. I do not
Mhm.
need to. This baby is only going to be this tiny for so long. And I tried to soak up all those moments with him. And I remember just saying out loud more how much I truly appreciate being able to have that time. Because again, going back to running the business, what's the point of putting the stress of running your own business if you can't take a maternity leave and be with your baby if you want to? If you want to go back 6 weeks later, go back to a job that you don't have to deal with every hat in the business. Go back to somebody that just pays you a ton of money to be a cog in the business's wheel if you want something that has like less flexibility.
Mm, yeah. And I would say, I love that you were thinking of the numbers and that you were kind of planning ahead. But I think that's the part too is like in life, we can plan so far, but two, you didn't expect that you would be taking that long of a time. And I think that's just to a reminder to us like, even though you may have a plan or an expectation, it's not always going to go, it's going to ebb and flow, but also how important it is to take that time with that child. They're only little for so long. And that's where even, I'm thankful I took the 12 weeks that I had, from work, but it was hard to disconnect, but it was really hard coming back and not
Oh yeah.
having that full opportunity to be able to pump when you needed to,
Yeah.
or to have a moment to breathe and not run to all the events. And so, you know, even for maybe some of our listeners, maybe they are in corporate or maybe they're running their own business, But now that you've reflected and have had 2 children and ran a business and had a business partner, what is something that you would suggest for them to think about that maybe they're not thinking about, that you maybe didn't expect to?
Well, for us to, that's all like the fluffy, happy things. Is the thing strategically is a business owner being away is a lot different than an associate of the business being away.
Yeah.
So truly, it's not a joke when you take that maternity leave. It's going to be detrimental to the business in a lot of ways. So not only financially, you do really have to push. But maybe if the business owner isn't tied to client work as much as I was, a big part of the company that I do is, my value is really turns into profit for the company. It's
Mhm.
really tied to client work that's making us money. So we really had to push before maternity leave to make sure that we really did have a lot of those contracts and enough work built up that we could be slower. So strategically thinking about that, as well as something that we had to get together is your standard operating procedures and SOPs.
Mhm.
Whether you are leaving for maternity leave or you are adopting and taking some time off, or you are just going to be spending more time with your kids in general, just anytime you're stepping away from the company, you can't just assume that people know what you do
Yep,
for the
and how you
company
do it.
and how you do it and maybe why you do it. So getting that together is just always a good practice of just having, whether it's just a Word doc somewhere or having more of an elaborate, we use right now, all of our SOPs are now, we're trying to get them all standardized in a Miro digital whiteboard where it's like every step, every program that's used, like where files are, like as much as you can get that more detailed as possible. If something were to happen to you and you do need to step away for whatever reason, you can have more, your mind can be at ease knowing this is how we do it. Here's where to find it. Here's where to recreate it. Um, Something where it's not just all sitting in your own brain.
Yeah, because I would say, I feel like that's where even my past was wealth management, and it was trust and estates. You never know when something can happen. You never know when you could get in a car accident or something could happen, and where it's like you need to have these processes written down. You need to have some details because you never know when your moment is going to happen, or some accident, or you're going to break your leg and someone's going to have to jump in for you. And I think it's a great reminder to all business owners, all corporate people too, because sometimes that's overlooked because it's going to take time. It's going to take away from the
Yeah.
moments with the clients, but deep down, that's how your business is going to keep going.
But that's the thing too about us as business owners. I think if I could go back to your question before of just like something
Yeah.
that I would say as a suggestion is schedule time to work on the business. We didn't do that for so many years. It's like, well, we're working on the business because we're working on client work. It's like, no, you're working on client work where you're servicing your clients. You're not working on the business. And the more time that you can work on the business, ultimately, the more the business will grow. There's metaphors through there 1,000 times that's something that we should have started doing earlier, is really spending more scheduled time working on that. And doing something like an SOP is going to not only get that out of your head, but also make you look at that and analyze it and be like, oh, is this how I do it? I kind of did it this time, this way, and this time this way. It'll make you get everything down that you can look at that and analyze it, look for efficiencies, and it'll just ultimately start streamlining processes in your company that will ultimately save you time and money anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I just think of it's going to be a smoother process too when you have to delegate, when you need to delegate and have somebody else do it when you get bigger, or, if that's what the business decision is to get bigger, you can delegate it. It'll be
Yep. You
easier.
can be
They
like,
can just jump on and
here it is.
handle it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just a bunch of weird stuff. This is it. This is how you do it. Can you please go ahead and do it? And it'll help you for hiring. like you might
Yeah.
not have any idea where to start if you need to hire, an office manager or something like that. Be like, I don't know what they need to do. Is well, if you look at some of your processes and look at some of the things that your business does to survive and run as a business, you can start seeing them. If you literally physically have a place to look at them, you could say, like, oh, well, these are the tasks that we do that I want to get off my plate. I'm going to hire for those tasks.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, so many great reminders. And I feel like we kind of talked on all different topics here today. And that's where, how can the listeners get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your business or just even connect with you? Because I am so thankful we met in Milwaukee at a conference one day because I feel like I've always learned some things from you and you have a different perspective. So, how can the listeners get in touch with you, my dear?
They can contact me directly through the company, and I don't even know if I've said the company names so
Yeah,
far,
I was
but
like, I don't think you even have.
it's Oddbond Creative. We're a branding and design studio in Milwaukee and around the Midwest. It's oddbond.com, ODVANT. You can
Okay.
also just email me directly at Dena at Oddbond, DNA at oddbond.com. More than happy to chat with anybody that is a friend of Dawn, is a friend of me.
Oh, well, you're so sweet. And I would say I'll put it in the show notes, but I appreciate you so much. And this is where too I love that you're an aspiring working mama that, is creative, but also too focused on your family and keep pushing ahead and growing a business. And you're just still determined to keep going. And I appreciate that. And it's inspiring. So keep shining bright, my dear.
Oh, thank you. You too.
All right. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Dawn.